That night, she dreamt she was Rhaegar, riding to the Trident, but she was mounted on a dragon, not a horse. When she saw the usurper's rebel host across the river, they were armored all in ice, but she bathed them in dragon fire and they melted away like the dew and turned the Trident into a torrent. Some small part of her knew she was dreaming, but another part exulted. This is how it was meant to be. The other was a nightmare, and I have only now awakened. Now that is what one would call a dragon dream. And dragon dreams are something that House Targaryen and those who are meant to ride dragons suffer from. Unlike the Greenseer dreams and wolf dreams of House Stark, the dragon dreams are something that pretty much only plague those who are the seed of the dragon. And in that vision in particular, I predict that Daenerys, like many others, Daenerys is actually facing off against the Night King, and she remembers being told about Rhaegar's battle at the Trident with the usurper Robert Baratheon, and when his hosts arrive, she realizes that they're actually the Night King and his troops. Now, the Night King is actually not really a thing in the books, but she realizes it's the others. Now, what I think this means is that when Daenerys arrives in Westeros, she thinks her enemies are that of Rhaegar's or that of her house, but really, it's that of the others. They've returned, and Daenerys' major fight will be with them, just like in the TV show. What's interesting is that Daenerys has this dream, and I think it was a storm with swords, right before the sack of Astapor, right before she frees all the slaves. In this video in particular, I want to discuss the idea of whether or not Rhaegar himself had dragon dreams. He was known to be pretty melancholy throughout his life, and that could be because he was affected by the dreams of the dragon and may have been what motivated him. Now, before we get started, please do me a massive favor and slap a like on this video, as the like goal is going to be 420. Do you get it? Also, make sure you're subscribed, and this is the most important part. Make sure you have your notifications turned on as well as being subscribed, so that way you'll get alerted every single time I drop a video throughout this long night. Also, big thank you to Brick23, Bloody Tyrant, Leah Hendrickson, Angie Delehanty, Nancy Tockstein, Marilyn Miller, Fred Wicks, BEL-a-Donna, Cater Tot, and Joe Swag. They are all members of my Patreon family, and if you all watching are interested, check the link down below in the description or go to patreon.com/SirHuntsReview. For those who are unfamiliar, Prince Rhaegar is Jon Snow's father in the TV show, but that has yet to really be confirmed in the books. Now, many readers, myself included, believe that it has been confirmed when George R. R. Martin supposedly asked Dan and Dave who was Jon Snow's mother before the show ever even started or went into development. George R. R. Martin asked Dan and Dave who was Jon Snow's mother, and they answered correctly. Well, in the TV show, Rhaegar plus Lyanna equals Jon Snow. So most of us feel as though that theory has been solved, and I'm not going to spend too much time on that in this video. Instead, I just want to focus on dragon dreams and whether Rhaegar had them. Now, just reiterating here, dragon dreams affect those who are the blood of the dragon. There are known to be like a premonition type dream ability, but they're not regular dreams. Sometimes they involve dragons and sometimes they don't. They appear to infest those and haunt those with the blood of the dragon throughout several generations, but some of the members of House Targaryen are actually affected by the dreams more so than others. Now, what's interesting is it's not really mentioned anywhere in the books whether other members of the Valyrian race had dragons. I mean, you would think that the most famous, in my opinion, or the most important Targaryen with these dragon dreams is Daenerys the Dreamer. She's the one who saved the entire house, you know, like 12 years before the destruction of the Valyrian freehold. Daenerys the Dreamer dreamed of this, and her entire family decided to move to Dragonstone. This decision, of course, saved House Targaryen, and after the destruction of the Valyrian freehold, they were the last dragon riders. Now, one should make note here, we don't really know if House Targaryen is special. As a matter of fact, George R. R. Martin has stated that House Targaryen, before the destruction of the Valyrian freehold, was just a somewhat minor house. They weren't really that major in the Valyrian freehold. So it makes you wonder if some other houses also probably got the dragon dreams. Maybe they just didn't pay attention to them. I mean, we do know that the initial Valyrians who bonded with the dragons probably had the dragon dreams, which is how they knew about the power of dragons, but maybe it's something sort of similar to with northern magic, whereas like some of the Valyrians stopped believing in the fire god or the power of dragons and they were sort of nullified. Or maybe they had just blocked out that side of their Valyrian power. Maybe since the Targaryens were more in touch with it, they were able to escape in time and actually take heed of its warning. But you know, aside from Daenys the Dreamer and Daenerys Targaryen, there were several other Targaryens who had dragon dreams, one of which was Maester Aemon. He mentions in A Dance with Dragons that I see them in my dreams, Sam. I see a red star bleeding in the sky. I still remember red. I see their shadows on the snow, hear the crack of their leathern rings, feel their hot breath. My brothers dreamed of dragons too, and their dreams killed them, every one. And then he also mentions that the dragon must have 3 heads, but I am too old to be one of them. I should be with her, showing her the way, but my body has betrayed me. And if he's of course referring to Daenerys. And you know, aside from the main characters in the War of the Five Kings or in the events of a Game of Thrones, from the main story removed, you know, in the Night of the Seven Kingdoms, we actually have Prince Daeron Targaryen, who had dragon dreams. He was known to be somewhat of a sad individual, and a lot of people think that the reason why he drank so much was because he suffered from dragon dreams. But one of his predictions, for instance, he told Sir Duncan the Tall, about a dream he had that a great red dragon would fall on Sir Dunk, and that dragon would be dead, but Sir Dunk himself would walk off alive. A lot of people think that turned out like when Prince Daeron told Sir Duncan the Tall that he was talking about the death of Prince Baelor Targaryen, who died during like a 3-way fight they all had. Now, just as a side note, and I'm most likely wrong, but I actually think that Prince Daeron was telling Dunk that he would survive the tragedy at Summerhall, which basically happens when Egg, the main character of A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, well, I guess Sir Dunk the Tall is, but King Aegon decides to hatch dragons. It creates this massive fire in an event where Rhaegar Targaryen is born, but Sir Duncan the Tall and King Aegon and his son, they all die at this event. But anyway, I think when King Daeron tells Dunk about this, I think he's more so referring to the tragedy at Summerhall, meaning like the red dragon being the actual flames coming falling down, but Dunk walks off. The only reason being is because we have 2 characters that may potentially be related to Sir Duncan the Tall, that being Hodor and Brienne of Tarth, who has been confirmed by George R. R. Martin that Brienne of Tarth is an ancestor of Sir Duncan the Tall. So I may be getting the timeline screwed up, but I feel like someone who died at the tragedy at Summerhall couldn't possibly somehow be related to 2 people that are still alive. Although A Night of the Seven Kingdoms isn't exactly finished, and even though we know how King Egg and Dunk supposedly die, we don't know where their journey takes them, and maybe they do go up north, and he's related to these 2 individuals of something that happens before his actual death. So if we take the 3 things we know about dragon dreams, the first one being that they mostly only affect House Targaryen, but not every single one of them. The second thing being that sometimes they involve dragons and sometimes they just involve prophecies, or they are to point Targaryens to the right direction in which they're supposed to go, because they may not always know which direction that is. And the third thing being is that most people that are affected by the dreams heavily tend to be somewhat melancholic, as like they know how their fate is going to end, so obviously this makes them depressed. Well, guess what? Rhaegar was said to have been extremely melancholy most of his life, and he was born during a tragic event, and a lot of people think that tragicness sort of kept with him his entire life. He wasn't really much for like fighting or anything until a lot of people, it's just stated that he read it in a book somewhere and that's what made him decide to want to become a warrior. Well, I think it's really the opposite of that. I think it was a dragon dream that he was given. Rhaegar was taught to read from a very early age, so it is quite possible that he could have been reading about prophecies and decided one day that, hey, I'm that person, but that doesn't really fit along with his personality. I think it's either one of 2 options. The first one being that he had a dragon dream and saw himself being one of the 3 heads of the dragon and that he has to fight the great other, or Aemon, who he is known to have corresponded with while he was at the wall, serving as Maester Aemon of Castle Black. Rhaegar and Aemon corresponded. Aemon is known to have dragon dreams. It is quite possible that Aemon told Rhaegar that he saw himself in his visions and that he had this great destiny to fill and that he needs to come up with the 3 heads of the dragon, or at the very least come up with the 3rd head of the dragon. And since he knew that his wife Elia Martell had nearly died delivering his last child, he knew that he couldn't get a 3rd one. So in order to make his 3rd head of the dragon, he had to fall in love with Lyanna Stark, which is the traditional traditional Targaryen way, you know, they're not known, Rhaegar wasn't known to visit brothels, and Ned Stark himself, you know, stated that. And also, the traditional Targaryen way isn't by raping, it's by falling in love and sort of romancing someone. And you know, it's stated that Rhaegar didn't like battle, he was a lover, not a fighter. So the fact that he would be comfortable with dissing his wife Elia Martell and romancing Lyanna means that he must have been following either his own dragon dreams or Aemon's dragon dreams. Now, as a side note, even though Summerhall was pretty tragic and everything surrounded by it, since it was such a crazy thing that happened there, it just had this like depressing energy to it, and Rhaegar would often go there with nothing else but his harp, and when he came back he would like sing songs that could make girls cry. Now, some people think it was the ghost of Highheart, who is known to have visions of the past and the future, was maybe telling Rhaegar these dreams or predictions of the future, and that's why Rhaegar was going there. But you all let me know what you think about that down below in the comment section. So in conclusion, and just sort of wrapping this video up, do I think Rhaegar Targaryen got dragon dreams? Well, yes, or maybe. I guess one of two options. The first one being that yes, he did get dragon dreams, which it would explain his melancholy type personality, and would also explain why he all of a sudden decided to start doing things that didn't really interest him that much, being like fighting, picking up a sword, becoming a warrior, becoming a father, having 3 children. Could be because he was getting dragon dreams, or dreams of fire as I like to call them. The opposite, of course, being dreams of ice, that aka wolf dreams. And the other option, or the second one, I think may be more likely, since we haven't actually heard of Rhaegar having dragon dreams and we know so much about his character for him to not be a POV. I mean, it's just something that hasn't been mentioned yet. Maybe someone like John Connington will explain in Winds of Winter that Rhaegar did in fact have dragon dreams and that was his sole motivation. But I think it's more likely that since he was known to be in communication with Aemon at the Wall for a long time, Aemon likely discussed the contents of his own dragon dreams, and this is what pushed Rhaegar to do what he did. But either way, you all let me know what you think down below in the comment section. Did Rhaegar actually have dragon dreams, or am I more so correct in that he didn't have them and was receiving his information from a very reliable source, that being Maester Aemon at the Wall? Well, alright. I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you could please slap a like on this video. The like goal is going to be white for 420. And also, this is the most important part, please make sure you're subscribed and have your notifications turned on so that way you get alerted every single time I drop a video throughout this long night. Super special shout out to every single person watching, and a super special thank you to every single member of my Patreon family over on patreon.com/SirHuntsReviews. I want to thank you all again so much for watching. My name's Mark and this has been Sir Hunts.